Good morning. Welcome to today's service in the Frank D. Ashburn Chapel. Today is our first experiment with a crowdsourced chapel. The chapel prefects chose the theme of joy because we wanted to go into our winter breaks celebrating the many facets of joy together. We were glad to receive close to 100 responses to our survey, and we sorted through them to pick those that reflected our intentions for the service. You will see and hear your reflections on joy in several forms during our service. We also chose readings and music, and we invited 3 faculty members, Mr. Konovalchik, Ms. Brennan, and Mr. Campbell, to share brief reflections on joy with us. Our hope is that we can all appreciate and respect each other's thoughts on joy, even if we cannot relate to them. Thank you for your willingness to give this way of creating a service a try. We will begin the service with a candle lighting.
Let there be joy in our coming together this morning. Let there be truth heard in the words we speak and the songs we sing. Let there be help and healing for our disharmony and despair. Let there be silence for the voice within us and beyond us. Let there be joy in our coming together.
In some religious communities, there is a moment in the service called passing the peace. This is a time when people are invited to stand and greet each other, often saying something like, "Peace be with you," or some other well wish. Today, we would like to try something similar but different. We want to try passing the joy. In a moment, I'm going to invite everyone to stand and greet a couple of your neighbors. Share with your neighbor something about them that brings you joy. Maybe it's something about their personality, if you know them well, or maybe it's their smile or the color of their shirt if you don't know them so well. Or share a joyful memory. Or just tell them you wish them joy and share a smile. Whatever works. So, Brooks, please stand and pass some joy to your neighbors. You're a great leader. All right. Thank you for sharing some joy. We will now hear from Mr. Konovalchik.
Morning. So I was excited to participate in the chapel service as soon as Emma Martin invited the community to participate a few weeks ago. It's a wonderful topic to explore as we move to celebrate the season of light called Advent on the Christian calendar. It is no secret we're divided today, divided as a nation, divided in our politics, and frankly divided in our school and school community. I accepted this invitation to speak to you because I think this topic of what brings us joy can reunite us and provide us common ground. I also offer my ideas today as just one piece of the puzzle on this topic, although one that is profound to me. As I often tell my students, in the next few minutes, I'll be telling you what to think about, not what to think. The first thing that brings me joy is my family. In all honesty, I feel richly blessed in this area. My oldest son, Andrew, is great fun to be around. I think Nick's a pretty good guy. And then there's the love of my life, my wife, Sheila, with whom I just celebrated 25 years of marriage this past summer. Yeah, it took a lot of work on her part. But the main point I want to share But the main point I want to share is that I get so much joy in reading the beauty of the Christian Gospels. I literally find this surprising in me, and perhaps you would too if you knew me when I was younger. This was not something I did, really at all. You may remember I spoke to you last year on the book The World's Religions by Houston Smith. I picked up that book many years ago, and in time, I was hooked on exploring the world's religions. So I just want to share a few examples that bring me great comfort and joy. One comes from the Jewish Book of Common Prayer. It says, "Where there is no reverence, there is no wisdom. And where there is no wisdom, there is no reverence." Now, I don't have any tattoos, but if I did, that would be on my very short list of possibilities. I love the idea it expresses and do literally receive joy in contemplating it. Secondly, in one of the most beautiful moments in the Bible, Jesus spoke directly to his disciples about joy. On the night before he was crucified, at a Passover meal, the Last Supper to Christians, he asked them to love one another as he had loved them. And he said, "I have said these things to you so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete." When things are challenging in my life, I find much joy and happiness in this message. Most fondly, I share this last one with you. This is contained in the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians, written in the first century. You may recognize it as a reading that is often done at a wedding. And of course, weddings themselves bring people so much joy. I cry at weddings. Do you? The reading goes like this. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Love never ends. So I want to wish all of you a Merry Christmas and a very healthy and holiday season. Thanks for listening.
A poem entitled "Don't Hesitate" by Mary Oliver. If you suddenly and unexpectedly feel joy, don't hesitate. Give in to it. There are plenty of lives and whole towns destroyed or about to be. We are not wise and not very often kind, and much can never be redeemed. Still, life has some possibility left. Perhaps this is its way of fighting back, that sometimes something happened better than all the riches or powers in the world. It could be anything, but very likely you notice it in the instant when love begins. Anyway, that's often the case. Anyway, whatever it is, don't be afraid of its plenty. Joy is not made to be a crumb.
When I think about joy, one of the first things that comes to mind is Beethoven's Ode to Joy, and you just heard a few bars of that. I'm grateful that our organist agreed to play a few bars for me because I was going to have to hum it for you, and I'm not as good a singer as Miss Chaniel or as bold as Mr. Hesse. So when I Googled Ode to Joy, I stumbled across several flash mobs of the Ode to Joy. And as you may know, a flash mob usually takes place in a public space such as the mall, where unsuspecting shoppers, diners, or people walking by are suddenly treated to some music, usually initiated by a single musician or singer. The flash mob expands as other musicians or singers emerge from the crowd, and eventually the public space has been converted into a concert hall, and the crowd is treated to the unexpected joy of the gift of music. Thinking about flash mobs, and this one in particular about Ode to Joy, I realized what I wanted to talk about this morning. Joy can be found in unexpected places and unexpected ways. Every morning, I head out the back door of Merriman to let my dogs run in the fields. This morning, as Tux and Henry burst out of the door, they saw the first snow of the season. It was unexpected to them. And talk about joy. They frolicked and rolled in unadulterated joy. Then some girls came out of Gardner and said, "Ugh, it's snowing." I should have prefaced this by saying I'm not going to be anywhere near as profound as Mr. Konobelchek, but I appreciate what he had to say as well. So another thing that brings me joy, cedar waxwings. They always come at unexpected times. I haven't been at Brooks long enough to know if they come here to campus, but I bet some of you know what I'm talking about. These beautiful birds are the shape and size of a cardinal. They're beige with black masks around their eyes, and the tips of their tail feathers look like they've been dipped in bright yellow paint. These birds migrate in huge flocks, often descending upon a given tree 50 or 100 at a time. With no apparent warning, they just appear one day. I hear them high up in an evergreen tree, and then I watch them plunge onto nearby berry bushes. They balance precariously on the branches and virtually turn themselves upside down to gorge themselves on the berries. And usually, 24 hours later, the entire flock is gone again. If this happens on campus this winter, you will see me filled with joy and telling everyone about it. Another thing that brings me joy, ginkgo trees. As you may know, there's a huge ginkgo tree in front of Whitney, next to Mr. Packard's house. And these trees bring me joy because of the unique way in which they lose their leaves. Unexpectedly, one day, when the temperature is just right, all of the leaves suddenly let go and fall to the ground below. And folklore has it that if you catch a ginkgo leaf as it falls to the ground, it brings you good luck. Unfortunately for all of you, that happened the day after you left for Thanksgiving break. So just a few more things. What else brings me joy? My 3 daughters, chocolate in any form, a plunge into a fresh lake in the summer, the tenderness of human touch, birch trees, and walking in the silent woods during a snowfall. So my wish for you in this season of joy and anticipation is that you keep your eyes and your hearts open, that you may find joy in unexpected places and ways. Thanks.
For this next part of the service, the prefects will be reading some of the memories and comments submitted by the community, along with a few readings we have chosen. A slideshow of images and words that were submitted will play throughout.
Smiling is contagious, and I love seeing other people happy. It makes the world a better place.
The gift of life is truly a miracle. One of my greatest joys has been the opportunity to hold both my baby girls in my arms just after their births and welcome them into the world. My heart was so overwhelmingly filled with love, joy, hope, and happiness at the moment of their arrival. And that one for me is truly an unforgettable and joyful experience.
Going to the beach with my best friends at sunset, we swam until it was dark and had a long walk home being chased by bees.
Musical theater has been my passion since I was a kid. This summer, I had the privilege of playing Belle in Beauty and the Beast, and the experience was incredible. Although I only had 2 weeks to memorize 12 songs and 200+ pages of lines, I wouldn't have traded it for anything. I created new friendships and possibly future record deals.
Joy. It is not as simple as a naive smile of a boy, for there are many things we enjoy, like nature's aesthetics we cannot cease to admire, like the first taste of sweet that soothes our palate, like the sun that casts a shadow over my quagmire, like the people that keep us from feeling desolate, because nothing gives me more joy than you, because it is our community that makes us smile too.
Schoodic Peninsula in Maine this summer, when we were staying on an organic farm. Our daughter woke up in the morning to horses, chicken, sheep, and wildflowers, and was enthralled with the magic of her surroundings. Watching her curiosity and delight made me feel joyful.
All the adventures my grandma and I went on, whether it was to South Carolina or just waking up early and walking through the neighborhood, every time I'm home, I cherish these moments.
I have told you these things so that my joy may be in you, and your joy may be complete. John chapter 15, verse 11.
Meeting my wife in Wrigleyville in 2003 and going to 20 Cubs games that summer.
A Yiddish proverb: what soap is to the body, laughter is to the soul.
My brother and his friend, when they were seniors and I was a freshman, would take with me to Dunkin's before classes during winter term. Instead of saying they were getting coffee, they would say, "Time to get joy," or "How was your joy?" It really brings me joy to think about that because of how much joy my brother brings me.
Thinking of my children's faces on Christmas morning when they are so excited, not just about the presents, but the magical idea of Santa and the mystery that surrounds that. They would run outside to see if there were reindeer tracks. There were. And if Santa ate the cookies, which he always did, were always part of that joyous day. As the day proceeded and family gathered to eat and share gifts with each other, the joy of the day just continued to grow and grow.
There's a whole lot of bad things in this world, and honestly, anything can be made into a negative light, including consciousness. However, I believe that the thing that brings us joy is consciousness, because without it, we wouldn't even be able to conceptualize joy whatsoever.
Joy is something that gives us an involuntary smile.
Hi. A lot of times, describing joy is simple. Something that makes you laugh, a team winning, a personal achievement, or something of action. What's harder to put into words are the joyful memories we have and what makes them nostalgic. You heard Mr. Hesse speak in chapel about the power of song. In that same framework, what is it about music, lyrics, or any form of art for that matter, that can take us back to a place, remind us of someone, a good friend, a sibling, maybe that special someone? And how is it that so often songs adjust your mind and spirit and transport you back to a special life experience? You all know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you all know what was playing in your iPod, through your speakers, your first fall here at Brooks, or what riff or beat takes you back to the summer of 2014. Or perhaps what was playing in the car that first time you were behind the wheel with the windows down as you rounded the corner. There's little to explain how that happens, but it's real for me and probably just as real for all of you in this room. And how is it when that happens? It stimulates other senses in your body where you can hear a voice you once knew, smell the salt on your body from that day on the beach, or taste whatever satisfied your hunger or quenched your thirst at that very moment. I know anytime I hear the song And She Was by the Talking Heads, I'll smell the musty cottage air of northern Michigan. Or how Long December by the Counting Crows will take me 20 years back this month to a trip with my hockey buddies from Tabor Academy to Stockholm, Sweden. Or how anytime I hear Rosa Parks or Miss Jackson by Outkast, I find myself revisiting every social gathering and venue during my junior year in college. When I hear Crystal Village by Pete Yorn, The Remedy by Jason Mraz, or Into You by Fabulous, it takes me back to the summer of 2003 when I was working for little, renting a tiny, overpriced apartment in Chicago, and smelling the scents of ballpark food after going to game after game at Wrigley Field with a special person. With that unique experience of the musical senses, we at times have the uncanny ability to control our emotions and be able to inflict joy just by listening. If it's something that doesn't jive with your current mood, you can always just turn it off. In that remarkable tune, Long December, by the Counting Crows, Adam Duritz sings, "I can't remember all the times I tried to tell myself to hold on to these moments as they pass." A true statement as time slips by. But anytime you put your Beats headphones on or crank up that Bose speaker, you can return to so many magical times. There's a countless amount of joy in my life for me through family, friends, Lake Michigan, a good cheeseburger, and so on. But that aspect of having a soundtrack to my life is a true sensation and continues to get better season after season. Take joy in your soundtrack as it continues to grow and grow. Thank you.
Please stand to sing our final hymn.